interesting because you know electronics loves me. So we'll see how this goes. Now, if you were here last Sunday, Tony King spoke. Tony King from Unity in Carson. It was great to have her. She's always great. She told us about doing a treatment for someone else. You start by doing a treatment for yourself. She said, we know we're all connected. So everything we do for and to ourselves goes into the race consciousness of all. When we benefit others, we benefit ourselves. So wouldn't it make sense that we truly align ourselves with truth so that when we benefit others, we also benefit ourselves? Now, Dr. Holmes, in a book called Love and Law, said a treatment is the process of convincing yourself of the truth of what you say. It is nothing else. When you are self-convinced, then you have set forth into mind the power that does everything. As far as the practitioner is concerned, all he has to do is convince himself. So it comes right back to you treat yourself. When you are self-convinced, then you have set forth into mind the power that does it. That's where your work begins and ends as a practitioner doing treatments. And each and every one of us is a practitioner.
Can you tell us what treatment is?
A treatment, a spiritual mind treatment, is when we do affirmative prayer for ourselves or someone else to eliminate, to let go of the false condition, something that doesn't exist. Now, I'm convinced everyone here is willing to do, you're willing to benefit yourselves as long as it benefits others too. I know that about you. I appreciate that about you. So let's explore how we can use affirmative prayer for treatment, thank you, Kate, and the feeling behind it. We often use a lot of vernacular in this teaching. So thank you, Kate, for reminding me that not everyone knows what I'm talking about. We specialize in vernacular. So at any point, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just ask. We're kind of flexible that way. So, the topic this morning was submitted by Reverend Sue Ellen Miller, spiritual leader from Tulsa Center for Spiritual Living. And the title today is Treatment and Feeling. For me, I would call it treatment with feeling. From the science of mind point of view, the purpose of a treatment is to change circumstances. We go through this process, and it's an elaborate process, following these steps to get to the place where we can feel that the treatment has worked. The circumstances have changed. We have to feel that. We can't feel that until we believe that. So we have to frame it how we can believe it. I'm going to sit down because it's less distracting. It's not necessary that the patient should feel anything unusual. Whoever you're treating won't feel anything unusual. There's no sensation which accompanies a treatment. It's not necessary that the practitioner should feel anything other than the truth of the word he speaks. And that's also from Science of Mind. In the 1926 version, which I'm guessing it got eliminated later, by thinking consciously and with deep feeling, we implant the right idea in mind. And mind reproduces this idea as effect in the body. And when I talk about mind, I'm talking about consciousness, universal law. We use all this vernacular interchangeable, and we should work on that. As we heard last week, we all know that at a very deep level, God, Spirit, doesn't know that we're experiencing anything negative. God doesn't know we experience lack. God doesn't know we experience illness, scarcity, sickness, injury. Those things don't exist in the spiritual realm, or some people will call it dimension. Now, I want to throw you a little curve. In the religion of Sufism, and there's a point to this, there's a 4-level approach to practice and understanding that's relevant to this idea. Now, I have to admit that most of what I know about Sufism until recently came from the movie The Jewel of the Nile. Everybody remember that? Stephen Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito. Well, remember the Sufis actually converted Danny DeVito? He was gone along on his greedy little way, but they converted him to Sufism. And then they shared their jewels and their wealth with him. And he was prepared then to know how to deal with that. Well, that is truly part of their belief system. I'm going to go into it more. The first step in Sufism is called Sharia, which means in Arabic, it means the road, the path. And material possessions, in step 1, are classified as either yours or mine. That's pretty much how we operate. The second step is called tariqa. In Arabic means the trackless path in the desert. So the path becomes a little more difficult to follow. And in Arabic, in Sufism, tariqa is also what they call the path of studying Sufism. For someone well along the path in Sufism, they consider everything as what's mine is yours, but what's yours is mine. And that's what Danny DeVito got to experience in the movie. Everything on the second step in that path of spiritual pursuit becomes for the communal good. Now the third step is called hakika. And that is the correct Arabic pronunciation, because I was an Arabic linguist for 4 years. Hakika means truth, or the direct experience of spiritual truth. Third step, which means there's no longer anything that is mine or yours, or mine and yours. That begins to go away. But there's a fourth, more advanced step, and it's called marifa, which means deep wisdom and awareness of spiritual truth. We might call it gnosis, knowing. Buddhists call it enlightenment. And it is where we truly know there's no longer me or you. There is no separation. Now let's follow that. As they develop their consciousness in Sufism, beliefs progress from yours and mine to what's mine is yours, to no concept of mine and yours, finally to no concept of us as separate human beings. And this fourth point is the reason I even brought it up. Sufism is the mystical branch of Islam. And they teach there's no separation between me and you, and that people don't truly exist as persons separate from God, from Allah, whatever you call it, the thing itself, spirit. Mother, Father, God. There's no separation. Since we're not separate from God, can we be different from God? If we're not different from God, can we be less than God? We have a cliche that we say, God is all that I am, but I am not all that God is. So yes, we can still say there's a little bit of difference between God and us. But still, think about that relationship between us and Spirit. Between us and Allah, Buddha, all the other names we've come up with. So given this relationship, how can we use prayer to create change? How can we do a treatment? The first two steps of treatment are designed to move your consciousness into a place of being able to feel that the prayed for result is already true. Now I'll review the steps in a treatment. Recognition, unification, realization, thanksgiving, and release. The first two steps, recognition, unification, have only one purpose. And that's to prepare us to state our word with confidence. Without confidence, we can't feel the truth. The third step then, the realization step, is where we state, we demand from the universe the change for which we are treating. And we do demand it. We expect it. We do this with feeling, knowing it's true. If you're stating the truth, you have a pretty good chance of believing it. So state it as truth. So, right now, I want to check back in with you. Don't answer out loud. How are you doing? I've been talking a while. Are you okay? You feeling energized by this talk? Well, right now, we're going to practice what I just talked about. You are going to demonstrate this for yourself. This will apply to everybody. Please repeat after me. I am full of energy.
I am full of energy.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I really didn't expect that first one to go. I'm impressed. Let's repeat it again.
I am full of energy.
Getting better. Even more impressive. Now this time, I want you to picture it. I want you to demonstrate it. I am full of energy. I am full of energy. Now how do you feel?
Energized.
Can you feel the difference? Just that simple 5-word statement repeated 3 times. You shifted your energy. You shifted the energy in this room. You shifted the group energy. I didn't do it. You did it. You have so much power that you don't use. Start. Now, we're going to do something else. Same purpose, but we're going to do it differently. Repeat after me. I am filled with peace.
I am filled with peace.
Now instead of getting louder, we get softer. Picture peace. Put your hand over your heart. Whatever appeals to you. I am filled with peace. How's that feel?
Peaceful.
Do you see the power in your mind, in your statements, your beliefs, your convictions? That's a spiritual mind treatment. Do you know what it doesn't apply to? Nothing! It applies to everything. Everything in your life. Everything in everyone's life around you. For we're all connected. There's only one life. What we just did here this morning, there's not too many of us, but that's still rippling throughout the universe, throughout the cosmos, that energy that we put out. I am filled with energy. I am filled with peace. It changes everything. And it doesn't have to be in a group setting. It just, one of us has the same power, but together we believe it easier, we put energy into it, and it works. So, now that you've done it, how can you use prayer to change conditions, the appearance of conditions? There are two elements of effective prayer. The first element of an effective prayer is the communication between ourselves and the one we are praying to. Not praying for, praying to. The second element we need for prayer is energy. We just energized ourselves, didn't we? You can feel it. It's like we've connected the telephone wire, but we haven't sent a signal. So now we need to send an electric current through the wire. In prayer, the electric current is love, mindfulness, right concentration. It does take concentration. You can't just mouth the words. There's no energy. There's no belief. When you do it with love, mindfulness, concentration, you're picturing it. The universe has no other choice but to manifest what you have put into it, what you believe, what you feel, what you know. Mindfulness, it's the real presence of our body and our mind. Our body and mind are directed toward one point in treatment, and it's the present moment, right now. If that's lacking, don't waste your time praying. No matter what your faith, if you're not present, who is it that's praying? Your mindfulness has to be in the moment. Dr. Holmes, our founder, said, when you treat, resolve things into thoughts, bodies, people, objects, and all things. Having resolved everything into thought, know that disease is neither person, place, nor thing. It has no location. It doesn't belong to anyone. It can't operate through anyone. It's not believed by anyone. No, it's a false belief, a false image with no power. Know that the thing is mental, and then mentally dissolve it. Let it go. That's also from the original 1926 Science of the Mind. Now, I've quoted the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, and I put that out so you at least know who I'm talking about when I butcher the name. Thich Nhat Hanh. He says in The Energy of Prayer, if there's a change in the individual consciousness, then a change in the collective consciousness will also take place. When there's a change in the collective consciousness, then the situation of the individual will change. The situation of our loved one, who's the object of our prayer, will change. Now, you know I quote him frequently because I think he's incredible. Here's another quote. Changing is not just changing the things outside of us. First of all, we need the right view that transcends all notions, including of being and non-being, creator and creature, mind and spirit. That kind of insight is crucial for transformation and healing. If you haven't read Thich Nhat Hanh, go out online, there's hundreds of quotes from him, and just pick one out and you can contemplate it all day. So sometimes when we pray, we see that the words of the prayer are effective. Sometimes we feel the result so strongly, it's as if we can hear God saying, yes! Sometimes we get the reply, not yet. Sometimes maybe. Sometimes no. That no is hard to hear. But know that it's not the refusal of God, of the Buddha, of the Bodhisattva, of the Sufis, but the energy sent, the energy we sent is not yet strong enough to change the situation. Prayer always has a result, but the level of the result varies. When the answer is no, it doesn't necessarily mean our prayer was ineffective. It may be creating results that we can't yet see. Often we don't know the true need behind the appearance. And the collective consciousness knows better than we know ourselves. So what do we do when it doesn't appear to be working? Number one, keep doing it. It gets easier with practice. It gets easier with practice. We just practiced about 4 or 5 minutes this morning. There shouldn't be anything stopping you now. Ooh, I can feel that. I can feel there's nothing stopping you now. I'm looking for a collective consciousness change from this group. Once you begin to have success, it reminds you that you have this power. You are able to speak your word. And if you find that you can't get to that personal space, that place where you feel you already have whatever it is you're asking for, don't begin to blame yourself. That's sending negative energy. You don't want to do that. When you're blaming yourself, you are doing something wrong. Stop it. Don't blame yourself. It's difficult until you practice. At that point, call a practitioner or a minister or a prayer partner or a friend who knows something about this teaching and ask him. Just pray. Pray for the good itself. Pray for your ease in moving into that space, towards the place where you can accept and feel you're good. And then keep practicing. And please, please, please remember, it is not you doing the work. All you have to do is believe. All you have to do is feel. And allow the truth to unfold. You're not creating the truth. You're discovering the truth, or allowing the truth to become more apparent. That's behind the appearance. And know spirit, consciousness, mind, universal law does respond to your word. You proved that to yourself this morning. Here's another quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. When we send the energy of love and compassion to another person, doesn't matter if they know we're sending it. The important thing is that the energy is there and the heart of love is there, and that's what's going out into the world. When love and compassion are present in us and we send them outward, then that is truly prayer. In sending love outward, we may notice a change in our own hearts. That prayer has begun to have a result inside us. To pray effectively, our body and mind must dwell peacefully in the present moment. When you have mindfulness, you have concentration. Now, perhaps some of you know the works of an author, physician, Larry Dossey. Anyone? Okay. What he calls the absolute, or God, another term, the absolute, is the one mind. In that one mind, there are untapped sources of energy. If we use the energy of loving kindness, compassion, meditation, to be in touch with the energy of the one mind, we can transform and change any situation. In Buddhism, we call that type of prayer sending spiritual energy. Our faith is not superstition, because we know that this kind of prayer, the sending of spiritual energy, is based on truths that are very scientific. There's a reason we call ourselves religious scientists. The truth is that when the community sits together and produces the energy of mindful recollection of awareness in order to send spiritual support, then surely that energy will reach our loved one. So, in summary, my treatment begins and ends in my own mentality. When I realize that the words I speak is the power of the universe, and I can feel that power operating through my words, I know my treatment is complete. Namaste. Now, I would offer up a very short, powerful affirmation. Good and more good is mine. I feel it. I know it. I live it, and I breathe it. And so